What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another segment of Marcus Espinal Training. I'm accompanied once again by Danbury's very own Gary Simone. A lot of us know him as Coach Gary. He's got into some things here in Danbury as far as politics is concerned. He served as city councilman at large as well. And today we're going to be discussing Danbury youth sports and the importance of youth sports in today. Gary, how are you feeling today?
Hey, very good, and thank you for being here. Thank you for asking me. I appreciate it. It's a very important topic we're about to talk today.
Sure. Youth sports as you see it today. Coach, what makes you interested in talking about this subject today?
I've been coaching now since 1976, and this is the one time I could say that sports is needed more than any other time in the time I've been doing it. Like I said, I go back to 76, 50 some odd years, and what I see right now and the effect on social media is having with kids and the lack of one-on-one in the backyard where we grew up and we played is having a tremendous impact on these kids.
Sure. And I would agree with you. I mean, baseball was not just limited to Rogers Park. I think baseball was something that we were able to do in our homes, in our backyards, whether it be with the wiffle ball, the tennis ball, the wall ball, you name it. And it was something that we had passion for, and it was something that we did on a regular basis. Coach, what concerns you today about youth sports in Danbury?
What I'm concerned about is that it's becoming a cottage industry where it's becoming an elitist, where you have to have some big money to pay for these club teams and the private stuff that goes. It's almost getting to the range of like tennis, so to speak, or golf, right? Where it's not for the average kid anymore. Because, like you said, we don't play in the backyards anymore. We don't have the neighborhood parks that we played anymore. So if it's and the youth sports are shrinking, and it's another problem too is the lack of volunteerism. So you can't get the coaches, you can't get the people to help run the league, let alone help coach. So it's all part of spiraling it down, and I'm really concerned because the kids are losing social skills. See, when you were playing baseball in the backyard, you learned to communicate,
Sure.
right? Right? Safe, out, argue, whatever that kind of stuff, pick teams, that kind of stuff. But more importantly, at the end of it, you might come over to my house for dinner and know what us Italians eat. I go over to your house and see what your culture is. We don't have it anymore. And then that's why we become a country of being divisive.
Sure.
Where before we were all playing together, male and female. And you don't have that. And then you lose the social skills. Today, if you try to look a 10, 11-year-old in the eye to talk, they can't do it. They're up in the sky looking here, looking there, all because of they're on that keyboard.
Yeah.
They're looking there. So they don't have that ability to communicate that we learned when we were 8, 9, 10, 11 years old.
Sure. And we don't say that to make any of the younger generation feel bad. If you're watching us and you know Coach Gary, you know myself, we're drawing the line in the sand. Why do we make these interviews? Why do we make these segments? To bring forth knowledge and education so that you and we can do our jobs at a more efficient rate. Coach.
Yeah, I agree with you. We're not trying to knock anybody, but this is the era we live in now, and it's an era that needs a lot of TLC, especially for the kids. I mean, the depression in youth is at an all-time high. Teen suicide is also at a record high, and I've seen too much in my lifetime to be able to stay quiet about it. This is why I gave you a call, said we needed to talk about something because everything starts with an idea. How can we make it better? Bobby Kennedy said it best. I see a wrong, I try to right it. And some men look at things and say why. I dream of things that say why not.
Sure. And I love the comparison because even if we were to talk politics or even about great leaders in our generations and through our lives, we see that somebody was called to make a difference. Coach, we would be lying to the audience if we left it just at baseball. The level of interest that we carry for the youth, for the teens, for the young adults, is something that we take pride in, and it's something that we want to see some improvement. So now, Coach, moving forward, especially with you got in-house ball, you got travel ball, you got different clubs, so to speak, different places to go train. Coach, What do you think is more important for the athlete and the parent to understand through these vital years of development that they're going to have and embark upon?
I think the key word there just says development. And one other thing, when you're playing on your local team, your park and rec team, your Danbury Youth Baseball, so to speak, whatever it may be in your town, I think the emphasis is not put on enough that you're playing with your friends, that you're making relationships, you're making friendships that are going to last a lifetime. I mean, you came from a local youth program. We got to be friends. We're friends now for a lifetime, all right? And the friends that you made on that team, and my boys made on their team, they're going to the weddings, they're going to the baptisms. When you, and I say to all kids, play on your local team and make friendships. Baseball will follow. If you're good enough, if you want to put the work in, it'll catch up. You're not getting behind because you're playing on a youth team compared to a club team when you're 10, 11 years old, 12 years old. You're not falling behind. And that's what's being perceived right now. It's like keeping up with the Joneses, right? If I'm not on the club team, I'm falling behind. Even though I'm 11 years old, I might not might make the high school team 5 years from now. It's like, wait a minute, how about right now? Just enjoy playing on, and then we put an emphasis on winning. Then we get an emphasis that we got to go 3 for 3, and it all boils down to, and what parents don't realize that 60% of the kids quit by the time they're 13 years old. Why 13? Because it's the big field, and the big field is like whoa, and then you start losing kids.
Sure. Coach, I think it's super important. I mean, going back to when I was growing up, and it wasn't too long ago. I remember the only thing that I really had to go through was that 2008 recession that we hit here in the United States. But, um, I had to wait my turn. One summer my brother CJ would play summer ball, and I'd had to wait. And then I had to wait for the fall, or I had to wait for the spring when my dad could afford to put me in. I think it's important to understand, especially on the parent side, that just because you have the money does not mean it's convenient for your son and his development to place him in different facilities for different summer ball programs because of what you may hear. I think it's very important, especially as you emphasize, guys that I played with, we're still in contact. We still have that love, that respect. Even if it's I see you at the gym one day and we hadn't seen each other, let's say, for 10 years, we still carry those memories close to heart. And I think that's very important because when you build camaraderie, when you build team chemistry, it's the weapon that you need to be able to move forward and to compete and to grow with your peers. A lot of the times we have too many guys switching from one team to the next, and we can see how it can affect the guys on the ball club. Some kids feel more comfortable with a certain shortstop or a certain first baseman or third baseman or a certain catcher. And when these teams split up, even after one season or two, we notice it in the record, right? We notice it in the behavior, and we notice it in their attitudes. And as we touched upon development, coach, I think for one kid to develop and for one kid to develop properly, I think the environment has to be suitable for him, right?
Well, yes, you made a good point there before. When you start playing on trying to play on multiple teams and stuff like that, and that team chemistry is so underrated when you're looking on the outside. You've played, I've coached, managed, played. We know how important team chemistry is at every level, whether you're 11 years old, 15 years old, high school, college, the team chemistry. And you build that by practicing every day, going to battle every day, celebrating your successes, and also, somebody's there to help lick your wounds too. And that's where the team chemistry comes in. That's the team camaraderie comes in. When you start going all over the place, you can't, no team is complete. And that's just so important right there is that camaraderie, that team chemistry.
Yeah, and coach, just to piggyback off of that, we've mentioned the players. We haven't even mentioned the coaches, right? So when I was growing up, I got to witness my brother play summer ball, and I believe that was the first year that you came in
Yeah.
to
Yes. Yeah,
coach.
it was. Yes.
It was you. I remember Coach Ray Belisner was there.
Yep.
Um,
And you, Coach Zanini.
Coach Marrero was there. Coach Zanine was there.
Yes.
and a couple other guys. If I don't remember your names, forgive me. And I remember how that club was coming up together since they were like 8 years old.
Yes.
My brother was introduced later, along with Lenny Rodriguez, and it was a little bit difficult for them to gel with the team because the kids prior they already had built these relationships. You had Mikey DeResto, and Mikey
Yeah.
DeResto was a great catcher, and he knew how to talk to his pitchers. He knew how to do this, and then you had Ricky Hodnott come in, and he also caught, and it was just tough. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It was tough to be able to kind of gel those personalities together, to then go ahead and play baseball. I don't know if you guys are watching, but there's some rumors going on with the New York Mets and Juan Soto and Francisco Lindor, if
Correct.
they're
Yeah.
getting together, if they're getting along. People think that you just put on the uniform and it's just all about the game, when there's things that are going on in the clubhouse.
Well, see, that's so important right there. You mentioned Ricky Hadnot and those guys right there. It's probably one of the teams I remember because they were still together and they refused to lose attitude and the way they just battled. I can't remember how many games we won or lost, but what I can remember is that every game how those kids battled. From 1 through 9, from the 1 to whoever on the bench, they just battled and they all pulled for each other. Those are the teams I remember. And that's and then after that it was a big drop off. And then all of a sudden, the kids that were more individual, more for themselves, weren't committed. They didn't show up for practice. Then it became going to work.
Yeah.
And then I said, wait a minute, I'm going to take a step back, and I'm going to go back and coach 10, 11, 12-year-olds because the older kids were now starting to drift.
Yeah.
And that was the first thing I saw, and it's continued that to this day, where you just don't get the commitments anymore.
Sure.
And the biggest losers are the kids.
Yeah.
You talk to them when they get older, and they regret some of the things that they wish they had stuck together.
Yeah.
Because those days are very precious, and they don't realize it until they're looking back in the rearview mirror, and then it's too late.
Yeah. And even I would say esteeming your coach or respecting your coach, looking up to him and holding him to that standard, because we came up in a time that we lucked out with you, coach. We lucked out with Belizna. We lucked out with Marrero, Coach Marrero as well, because these were guys who they were there day in and day out. You know what I mean? And they were helping push this team camaraderie. They were trying to keep it together, and that's extremely important. And as we continue to talk about this, I mean, baseball for all of us is and has been a life path. It's been a path that we've taken for a very long time, and it's been something that has kept us on this straight and narrow, right? Guys get married, guys, have their weddings, call their buddies from youth baseball, and these are things that have been on the back of our brains for quite a long time, and their memories that we can cherish forevermore. Just to reiterate, as a coach, to be able to keep a connection with a player, parents who are listening, parents who want to continue to switch where their children are playing, or maybe think it'll be a little bit better here, sign them up for 2, 3 summer ball clubs, and think that their development and their performance is going to grow. I got something to say to you, because I haven't played for you in 15 years, coach.
Yeah, yeah.
I haven't played for you in 13 years.
Early 2000s, a little later on. Yeah.
How many times we go out to eat, coach?
Oh God, Mark, for you guys, Marcus and I always have a little saying. I remember I read Auerbach. You probably don't remember. We light up the cigar when the game was over. But when the game was over, and of course we were about to win, and sometimes we were about to lose, I always go to Marcus. Marcus, what time it is? And it was milkshake time. Milkshake time, right? And boom, we go to milkshake, and milkshake would turn into burgers or whatever we went to, or everything like that. But that was as much fun as coaching the baseball game. It was just as much fun. And then we bring some other guys with us, some other kids, and that builds the whole thing.
Correct.
And that's what's missing nowadays. Is that exactly what you're missing?
Sure.
Because you're not going to get that in trout and actually in club ball.
Sure.
Because everybody goes their separate ways. They're all from different towns, different areas. After the game, everybody splits. You're not sleeping over my house. I'm not sleeping over your house. Going to et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's the part, because the parents got to realize, a fraction of 1% make it to professional baseball. A fraction of 1%, and even less in college. Less than 5% of a team that starts will play college baseball at any level. The junior college, Division three, one, two, less than 5% that you're talking about, and and it's just you look at the numbers. So just go out and enjoy your son's career or daughter, all right, when they're on the small field, right, when they're 10, 11 years old. Don't be racing off to spend four, five, six, $7,000 thinking because you're getting falling behind. Look at the other things of what you're losing and the friendships you're making, the memories you're making. So when guys get together when they're 20, 30 years old, they're thinking about such and such a game, and so important that is, and and the confidence that you're building. There's so many things that go with it, but stop worrying about how is he going to do in high school? How is he going to, if he's going to make college? Not when they're 11, 12 years old.
Yeah.
Let them play.
Yeah. And coach, I'm not the only player, right? You go out to eat with other guys.
Yeah.
Guys contact me saying, "Hey, I saw you with Coach Gary. When can we get together? I would like to join you guys." And coach, I think the relationship building factor is superiorly important because of for a lot of our players, coach, and yours because you've coached more than me. You have 40 years of experience on top of me. We serve as an outlet to them.
Yes, very much
And as we serve as an outlet to them, it becomes more than a game. And, parents, you guys busy, got a lot of moving parts. They spend 2 hours with us and they're refreshed, they're recharged, they're brand new. And the importance of staying on that life path when it comes to baseball. Baseball can offer you an education if you're blessed or lucky enough. And it can help you through many different seasons in your life. I used to hear this saying a lot, coach. Maybe it came from you, maybe it came from one of the assistants, or maybe even one of the parents. I remember they used to tell me, I love when baseball players ask me for an application because I know that if I can hire a baseball player, I'm going to hire somebody who's disciplined, who's hardworking, something that you always used to tell us, and somebody who is going to be on time, right? So I think it's extremely important.
Yeah, baseball. Somebody says like baseball shows, you know, gives you character. I said no, it shows character. Baseball game will show you a character. You give me a kid that works his butt off on the baseball field, I'll show you a kid that works his butt off in the classroom, works his butt off at work, like you said, on time. All right, knows how to follow the rules, and and that's so important now because where else are you going to learn that?
Sure.
You're not learning in an English class. All due respect to teachers, there's and so that is the game shows your character. And actually deal with the adversary. Where else are you going to deal with the adversary? Where else are you going to learn that if you fall on your back, and if you can look up, you can get up?
Sure.
It's baseball, or any other sport for that matter. Like you said, I've been blessed because the good Lord gave me the talent to coach. I thank Him tremendously because it's given me such joy in my life. Because I get to be friends with you, I get to be friends with your brother, I get to be friends with a player called Hot Rod, who literally never played baseball till he got to us when he was 10 years old, and he ended up being the starting center fielder for Danbury High down the road, and now is a police officer in New Haven. You see success stories. You're passing it on. Andrew Morero is passing it on. Some of my guys that I've coached have all passing it on. That's what I get proud of, because I'm 72. I'm not gonna be on this planet forever. Somebody's got to pick up the torch, and there's so many organizations that are falling by the wayside because they don't have people coming in to take the older guys' places. Old timers is a perfect example here in Danbury. So I'm so proud of you because now you're the next guy. I'm down in the park seeing you with doing a little mini clinic. I'm walking to my car smiling ear to ear because somebody's picking up these cords, helping these kids. And soon enough, you're gonna get that kid that's gonna count on you, depend on you, and it's a big responsibility, but it's a labor of love.
Sure. Back when I entered into junior college, I played for Monroe College down in New Rochelle, New York. And in my freshman year, I was a hardworking guy, worked hard, played hard. I was taken notice by the coaching staff, and one day head coach. His name was Lou Melendez. He comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, buddy, I want you to play varsity for us this fall, and I want you to play third base." And I was just thrown off because I was a walk-on, didn't have any scholarship money, and I remember how he thought that I could be the number one or two third baseman, right? The backup. And I said, "Wow, this is something I wasn't even thinking this far." And I remember getting exposed to the varsity team and hearing about guys who could potentially get drafted that year. There was a few guys who were on scouting radars for Major League Baseball, and I remember that I started to think, and I got a little wide-eyed. I said, "Oh, maybe I can get drafted too." Not that year, but just later on in my college career. And so, turns out one of our starting pitchers, he got taken by the Yankees that year, to- Tony Hernandez, and that became my goal from that moment forward. And sometimes, they tell you in life, don't go too fast because you might miss, the times of fun, times to enjoy, times to really take it in and just live up the moment. And while I was going through college, I kept that as my goal. Went later on to Bluefield College in Virginia, played 2 more years after I finished 2 years in Monroe. And I remember when I didn't get drafted any of the draft years that I was eligible. Wasn't in contact with anybody either. Um, and so I remember how, I was very discouraged. And I thought that, things were over, got down and depressed. And I didn't know what to do with my life because baseball was my life. It was my path. It was what kept me stable. It was what kept me focused. It got me through college. And as a college ball player, you're trying to make the grade, not because you want to be a scientist. It's because you want to play shortstop. It's because you want to play third base. It's because you want to get out there and play the game. And so I quickly remembered, or recall, shall I say, not too long ago, how much trouble I could have gotten into if it wasn't for the game of baseball. Coming back home, not having that purpose that kept me pushing, and I didn't get into, let's say, bad things, right? My life kind of diverged. I started to serve more at my local church, and I did all that for a few years. And you come back, coach, and you look at it and you say, okay, thank God for baseball. Even though the goals or what I had in mind or in heart, and if you're listening to me, if you had those type of desires, it didn't work out as well, it's all right because we understand how much of a path this has served us in life and how much more now is there to give, right? And how rewarding it could potentially be for us on this side of the game now and this side of the ball. I'm reading Mariano Rivera's book, Coach. It's called The Closer, and I'm reading about old Yankees prospect who signed for about $1 million, a million and change, and his name was Brian Taylor, and how he ended up, being one of the Yankees' superstar prospects. Had an amazing fastball from the left side through 97, 98, and back in the early 90s, that wasn't something you've seen quite often.
Right.
Not like today's game. And one day he goes home and he's in his North Carolina atmosphere, I guess you could call it. And he gets into a street fight. He gets into a bar fight or something like that, and he ends up hurting his left shoulder, the arm that he throws with. And then quickly after that, he could never throw the ball the same again. He had to get surgery, and yeah, his career ended pretty quickly after that. And he then got into selling crack cocaine, and how he ended up serving many years in prison, I think, because of it. And just how the path of life in baseball can be so important. Coach, have you seen any kids or encountered any situations like that coming up?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of them, especially when I was coaching back in the day when I was coaching youth basketball, especially at the junior high level. We actually started a team here in Danbury from both junior highs at the time, and we had one particular player who unfortunately, I lost track of when he was at the high school, and who started out with basketball, um, didn't work out, didn't have a good relationship with the coach, and because he did get cut eventually, or thrown off the team for various reasons, he went downhill in a hurry. and that carried over into his adulthood. And to this day, I don't know if he's alive. You know, he was so heavy into the drug scene. And on the other hand, I've seen kids who were in the projects, who had very little to nothing, are now very successful. Why? Because of this, because of sports, because of the discipline that sports gave, because you did have to make grades, you know, grades to play. You did have rules. You were structured. These kids like structure. I don't care what they tell you. They like structure because but also somebody believed in them. See, that's the key. Somebody's got to believe in you. Somebody's got to say to you, "Hey, I believe in you."
You got to have a Coach Gary.
I tell my players two things: I believe in them and I love them, because you never know if they're going home and hearing either one of those. Chances are, many players that I coached did not hear either one of them because of where the circumstances that they were thrown into. And so you always try to tell them. I try to tell them I believe in them because I do believe in them. And do I love them? Yeah. Every one of my players, from back in 1976 to today, I love and care about. To me, they're all my fourth sons. Really, I got hundreds of fourth sons, and that's very important to me. And because I know when I was going through some tough times, when I was going through some health issues, all those kids were there with me. Well, they're kids now; they're young men. I mean, I started coaching when I was 21, and I'm coaching 12-year-olds. And that was a pretty funny couple of years. But so but they kept me alive. So it goes both ways. You know, coaching's not what I do. Coaching's who I am. So you know, you meet a lot along the way, but you got to have somebody in your corner that says you can believe in you, and that kid, you build a relationship with that young person, and because now they have confidence enough to come to you with a problem, come to you with, I listen, I need some help, right? Or you got such a relationship that you know that you can just tell by knowing, looking at him, that he's having a bad day, and then you can say what's wrong, and he says nothing, and you say, come on, it's me talking, cut, blah 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 blah. You tell me, and then it starts, and then you check in on him. You call, and that makes a huge difference.
Sure.
Because then you can look at the other way, where you get a coach that doesn't care and doesn't give you confidence. So now you're feeling your self-esteem shot. It's down, gone. Now where you at? Now you're starting to look at the bad things in life to start feeling good. So that's why I can't emphasize that enough. I'm so proud of the guys I see who have given back. You know, coaches, like I said, yourself. You know, other people who have given back to the game, because I know that you guys got to carry it on. You're the next generation.
Coach, thank you. Once again, this is Marcus Espinal Training. Coach, I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And everybody who's watching, play close attention. These are two guys here, two coaches here for the younger generation, giving back what we know, what we've seen. And we want to thank you, Coach, publicly for all the years that you've served us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you very much.